So, you want to own a McDonald's franchise? You drive past the busiest intersection in town, watch dozens of cars inching their way through the drive-thru, and look up at the glowing golden arches piercing the night sky. In your mind, that is not just a fast food restaurant. It is an immortal money-printing machine of American capitalism, a safe haven asset so secure you could blindly pass it down to your grandchildren. But here is the thing. The reality behind this so-called franchise privilege is far more brutal than you might imagine. This billion-dollar industry generates massive cash flow, yet the sharpest business minds, the very people pulling out their own wallets to build this empire, frequently find themselves scrapping on the edge of insolvency. The ultimate American paradox lies right here. You sweat blood and tears to sell more products, but the only entity practically guaranteed never to take a loss is the one standing directly above you. To step inside the elite club of the McDonald's Corporation, you cannot just show up at their door with a brilliant business plan and a smile. The initial financial barrier is a massive shock to the system for anyone. To build and open a new McDonald's restaurant in the US, your initial total investment will range anywhere from $1.4 million to $2.7 million. Hold on, do not even think about running to the bank and using financial leverage to borrow that entire sum. The corporation enforces a strictly draconian rule. You are heavily mandated to have at least $500,000 in completely liquid cash. Most importantly, this must be your own cold, hard cash. It absolutely cannot come from any form of loan, mortgage, or crowdfunding. McDonald's wants to ensure you have tied your own financial lifeblood to their deep fryers before they even bother handing you that 100-page contract. The exact moment you sign on the dotted line, an initial franchise fee of $45,000 instantly evaporates from your bank account. This chunk of money merely purchases the right to use their brand name for the next 20 years. Indeed, countless investors enter this arena harboring a fatal misconception. They firmly believe they are using their millions to buy an independent business and control the game. The truth is quite the opposite. You are paying an exorbitant price to be hired as a high-level manager, where you solely bear every ounce of capital risk, face raw material inflation firsthand, and constantly wrestle with the chaotic staffing problems of the American labor market. You have drained your resources to enter the casino. However, once you finally sit at the table and reveal your hand, you will realize a chilling truth. McDonald's has never genuinely made its money by selling you the secret recipe to a perfect beef patty. Their core game is infinitely darker, more sophisticated, and tremendously more financially exploitative. To truly understand why this system drains the lifeblood out of its operators, we have to roll the wheel of history back to 1956. At that time, Ray Kroc, the man widely considered the father of this empire, was struggling desperately with razor-thin profit margins from selling individual hamburgers. Right at that borderline moment, a financial genius named Harry J. Sonneborn stepped in and entirely rewrote the rules of modern capitalism. Sonneborn laid bare a naked truth with a declaration that left corporate America completely stunned. We are not in the food business. We are in the real estate business. The only reason we sell 15-cent hamburgers is because they are the greatest producer of revenue, from which our tenants can pay us our rent. Instantly, the business model was flipped upside down. Instead of splitting a few meager pennies from a beef patty or a basket of fries, the McDonald's Corporation transformed itself into one of the most ruthless and brilliant real estate empires on the planet. Their operational mechanism works like this. The corporate entity deploys elite teams of the most aggressive location scouts. They travel across America, pinpointing golden plots of land at prime intersections and bustling storefronts with massive traffic volume. Then, they either buy the dirt outright or lock it down on a 20-year long-term lease at an incredibly favorable baseline cost. And then, the spectacular hustle begins. They build the outer shell of the building and then turn around to lease that exact same property back to you, the starry-eyed franchisee dreaming of wealth, at a massively inflated markup. To put it bluntly, you are not their strategic business partner. In the eyes of the finance department at corporate headquarters, you are merely a diligent tenant, grilling meat day and night just to generate the cash flow needed to pay rent to your landlord. The annual financial statements they file with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, expose this undeniable truth. If you flip through the balance sheet of this corporate giant, you will encounter a startling figure. Over 80% of McDonald's total fixed assets are not high-tech ovens, coffee machines, or intangible brand value. It is pure real estate. Their property portfolio is currently valued at roughly $40 billion globally. This colossal number effectively makes them one of the largest commercial real estate owners in the world, rivaling the property holdings of the Catholic Church itself. By tightly maintaining ownership or control of the dirt beneath your feet, the corporate headquarters has skillfully slipped a perfect noose around your business's lifeline. You pull from your own pocket to buy the expensive tables, the machinery, and the decorative LED lighting systems. However, the core piece of land remains under the name of the McDonald's Corporation. If your business tanks, you default on your debt, and go bankrupt, they simply kick you to the curb, seize the store, and drop a new debtor right into your place. That piece of land remains safely locked in their vault, continuing to generate yields and appreciate in value over time. This supreme hustle turns every ounce of effort you spend pumping money into maintenance or interior upgrades into nothing more than building a castle on someone else's property. Your store is officially open for business. The golden arches light up, the air is thick with the scent of crispy fries, and the continuous chiming of the cash register sounds like a symphony of wealth. An average McDonald's location in the US today can easily bring in gross sales of about $2.7 million to $3.3 million per year. Hearing these multi-million-dollar figures, you are probably thinking you are about to buy a yacht docked in Miami. But then, grab a calculator and start doing the subtraction, and you will see how Wall Street financial wizardry truly operates. The exact second the first dollar from a customer's burger purchase drops into the drawer, the corporate headquarters reaches in and takes the choicest cut. The cash flow drainage game begins with a strict royalty fee that blatantly slashes 4% off your gross revenue. Next, you are heavily mandated to contribute another 4.3% into something called the Global Advertising Fund. This fund is used by corporate to hire superstars like Travis Scott or BTS for TV commercials. And you, a small-time operator in the suburbs, must break your back to shoulder that cost, whether you want to or not. However, the fatal blow, the thing that truly suffocates your financial respiratory system, lies in the rent payment we mentioned in the previous chapter. McDonald's enforces a freakishly brutal rent mechanism known as percentage rent. Depending on your contract, your rent will devour anywhere from 8.5% to 15% of the store's revenue. On top of that, they always establish a baseline rent. If your sales tank, you pay the base. If your business booms, they automatically collect the percentage of sales. What does this mean? It means the harder you work, the more you optimize your processes to sell more burgers, the more rent McDonald's extracts from you. Add it all up, and roughly 17% to 23% of every single bill that crosses the counter flies straight to corporate headquarters in Chicago, before you even have the chance to buy a single potato, before you pay the college kid working the register, and before you cover your utility bills. The most ruthless aspect here is that corporate takes their cut strictly off gross sales, absolutely not net profit. To put it bluntly, if beef prices suddenly skyrocket due to a supply chain crisis, or ocean freight rates double, your store's profit margin will vaporize. Despite that, the McDonald's Corporation still pockets their full percentage without losing a single dime. In their eyes, you are the perfect shock absorber, soaking up every ounce of inflation risk in the American economy. After you break your back paying for food costs, typically eating up about 30%, increasingly expensive labor costs, around 30%, along with a mountain of insurance premiums, state taxes, and maintenance fees, the final number dropping to the bottom of the funnel is yours. For an exceptionally well-run franchise, the net margin limps in at a mere 10% to 15%. That glamorous $3 million revenue chunk is now reduced to roughly $300,000 to $450,000 in take-home profit. Indeed, this is still a dream income for the average person, but when stacked against the $2 million in capital and the crushing debt you poured in, combined with the pressure of working 80 hours a week, this return on investment equation starts to emit a very sour taste. When you steer your car into a McDonald's, you firmly believe that you are completely in control of your own hunger. The truth is, from the exact second your tires touch the asphalt leading into the drive-thru area, You have officially entered a behavioral manipulation machine, meticulously engineered down to the millimeter. Do not let the soft leather booths, the warm yellow lighting, or the colorful indoor play areas fool you. The massive floor space inside the restaurant basically acts as nothing more than a secondary theater. Over 70% of the colossal revenue generated across the entire US system actually flows from a narrow strip of asphalt wrapping around the building, the drive-through lane. Americans love their cars, and McDonald's turns the front seats of their customers into the most profitable dining rooms in the world. The dual-lane drive-through model was not created merely to relieve traffic congestion during rush hour. It is a masterpiece of crowd psychology. By keeping the line of vehicles constantly inching forward, the customer's brain is tricked into believing they are being served incredibly fast, thereby entirely neutralizing the frustrating sensation of waiting. They even install fiercely strict sensor-based timer boards for the crew, forcing the process of handing a bag of food through a car window to be completed in an average time of under 3 minutes and 30 seconds. You are buying convenience, but the corporation is buying your capital turnover speed. However, the most ruthless weapon for draining customer wallets in the digital age does not sit at the cash register. It fits right inside your smartphone and those massive self-order kiosks, steadily taking over the restaurant space. The algorithm is an emotionless, tireless sales machine, and most importantly, it never feels ashamed to squeeze more money out of a customer. A human cashier might forget, but the algorithm always remembers to slide in a bait question. Would you like to add a large fry for just a few extra cents? Or make it an extra large drink? Thanks to this relentless art of upselling, automated systems and mobile apps have helped skyrocket the average ticket size by anywhere from 15% to 20%. Hearing these growth figures, you probably think the franchisee is smiling from ear to ear. Indeed, an increase in revenue is a good signal. But hey, the only free cheese is in the Mousetrap. To achieve a futuristic store equipped with digital menu boards and automated kiosks, the corporate headquarters issued an ultimatum forcing all franchisees to participate in a massive remodeling program known as the Experience of the Future. You have to pull from your own pocket to gut and rebuild the system, burning through roughly $160,000 to $750,000 for every single location. Once again, store owners have to knock on the bank's door, strapping another massive chunk of debt onto their backs just to keep their business rights. An increase in gross sales via smart kiosks simply means the McDonald's Corporation will automatically deduct their 4% royalty fee and percentage rent from a significantly larger number. The corporate entity sits in Chicago watching their profit charts take off vertically without breaking a sweat, while you are stuck at the store, grinding day and night to pay the loan interest on a fleet of electronic machines that will inevitably become obsolete and require replacement within the next 5 years. If you thought the exorbitant rent bills and monthly royalty fees were the worst part of the game, welcome to the real hell, running a fast food restaurant in America. Playing the game on financial spreadsheets is always perfectly smooth, but unfortunately, the moment you step into the grease-soaked deep frying area, reality will hit you with a stinging slap. The current American labor market is a wildly exhausting trap for any business owner, especially in the F&B service industry. Just look straight at the state of California. Recently, a new law officially pushed the minimum wage for fast food workers to an astonishing ceiling, $20 hour. Yet that massive payroll is still not the most terrifying part. The fast food industry is notorious for a turnover rate that constantly hovers around 130% to 150% per year. What does this mean? It means you have to constantly hire, train, and then helplessly watch employees pack their bags and leave after just a few weeks. You are paying for instability, paying for empty shifts because a teenager suddenly texted in sick, and worst of all, you yourself have to roll up your sleeves and break your back flipping burgers or scrubbing toilets when short-staffed. The McDonald's Corporation absolutely does not care how exhausted or depleted you are. They only care whether your store opens on time and maintains the prescribed speed of throwing food through the drive-through window. Besides the human equation, you are tightly bound to a fiercely monopolized supply chain system with absolutely no way out. You carry the title of restaurant owner, but you possess absolutely zero freedom to go to a local wholesale market or negotiate with a nearby slaughterhouse to find cheaper beef or potatoes to salvage your profits. Corporate headquarters has established a massive network of exclusive, designated suppliers like Martin Brower or Golden State Foods. You are heavily mandated to buy everything from them, from the plastic spoons and cardboard boxes down to every single slice of cheese. When inflation sweeps across America and the prices of wheat and beef skyrocket due to global supply chain crises, you are the one who must bite the bullet and absorb that entire cost difference. The corporate office, meanwhile, comfortably sits back and collects their percentage fee on the final retail price. You are probably thinking, if input costs and employee wages go up, just raise the menu prices to offset it. Indeed, you do have the right to set retail prices at your specific location. However, McDonald's customer base is hypersensitive to pricing. If a Big Mac combo meal suddenly shoots up to the $15 to $18 range, consumers will immediately make a U-turn and eat at other chains or cook at home. The boundary between protecting your profit margin and permanently losing foot traffic is as thin as a sheet of paper. And do not forget, the corporation's team of anonymous inspectors will continuously drop draconian quality, service, and cleanliness audits on your head. If your French fries are just a few degrees colder than the standard, or the bathroom floor has a stain, you will be blacklisted. If you fail these evaluations, the giant known as McDonald's holds the absolute power to unilaterally terminate your franchise agreement, seize the property, and kick you out of the system empty-handed, completely indifferent to the fact that you are still shouldering a $2 million bank loan. To sum it up, you are buying a high-paying job that comes packaged with a sentence of hard labor and 0 days off. Nothing exposes the sheer brutality of this franchise game more clearly than placing two entirely contrasting fates on the exact same scale. On the covers of business magazines, McDonald's always loves to flaunt dazzling success stories to paint a flawless picture of the American dream. Look at VJ Selhi, a classic icon. From a penniless immigrant, he climbed the ranks to become a tycoon, owning a massive, highly lucrative chain of dozens of McDonald's locations. By securing properties in bustling suburbs with tight security and a high volume of free-spending middle-class customers, his profit margins swelled rapidly. He utilized that aggressively positive cash flow as financial leverage to swallow up even more locations, creating a flawlessly well-oiled money-printing machine. For operators like Selhi, McDonald's is indeed a golden ticket into the American elite. But then, that glorious painting instantly shatters, revealing a heavily stained dark side when you flip through the files of the massive lawsuit filed by Herbert Washington that shook corporate America. Washington was no amateur, and certainly no failure. He was a former professional MLB baseball player, and at one point, the largest black franchise owner in the United States, commanding an empire of 14 locations. However, instead of being handed those golden goose properties in wealthy suburban neighborhoods, Washington and numerous other black franchisees were shoved by corporate into a malicious geopolitical hustle. In the financial sector, this sophisticated trick is widely known as corporate redlining. The corporate headquarters repeatedly steered and pressured Washington into buying stores located deep within dilapidated, poverty-stricken, and crime-ridden inner-city areas. What was the hustle here? The McDonald's Corporation knew perfectly well that these areas carried extreme risks, so they pushed operators like Washington onto the front lines to act as human meat shields. The consequences crashed down on the former athlete's head instantly. Revenue at these locations barely limped along because local residents had to tighten their belts, while operational costs grotesquely ballooned. He was forced to pay astronomical property insurance premiums due to riot risks, burn through tens of thousands of dollars a month hiring armed security guards to stand watch at the doors, and suffered the absolute worst employee turnover rate in the system. His cash flow was being violently eroded from both ends. Yet, as established in earlier chapters, McDonald's does not care how much money you spend defending the store. They still consistently extract their 4% royalty fee and double-digit percentage rent straight off the gross sales. The climax of this cruelty hit when Washington's cash reserves dried up, and he could no longer afford the hundreds of thousands of dollars in mandatory store renovations demanded by corporate. At this exact moment, the fast food giant instantly played the role of the executioner. They squeezed him, severely downgraded his operational grading, and ultimately forced Washington to liquidate and sell off his stores at fire sale prices just to clear his debt. Unbelievably, right after kicking him to the curb, the highly lucrative prime real estate opportunities were smilingly handed over by corporate to white franchisees. Washington's massive lawsuit ripped the mask right off this franchise system, exposing a chilling truth. In the game of Wall Street, your hard work does not dictate your success or failure. Going bankrupt or becoming a millionaire depends entirely on whether the entity holding the power decides to drop you into a gold mine or push you into a minefield. Opening a restaurant in America is not just about selling food. You are essentially painting a giant bullseye on your own back in one of the most highly litigious societies in the world. In the land of the free, where ambulance-chasing lawyers plaster their faces across every highway billboard, a single drop of water on the floor can entirely wipe out your livelihood. You have undoubtedly heard of the classic hot coffee lawsuit, Liebeck vs. McDonald's restaurants, in 1994. The media at the time heavily manipulated public opinion, portraying 79-year-old Stella Liebeck as a money-hungry opportunist for demanding compensation after accidentally spilling drive-thru coffee on her lap. However, the actual court records stripped bare a ruthless truth about how this empire operates. The corporate entity had issued a strict mandate forcing stores to hold their coffee at a boiling temperature of 180 to 190 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly 82 to 88 degrees Celsius. The reason? It was not to make the coffee taste better. The cost analysis algorithm at headquarters calculated that the hotter the coffee, the longer it took for customers to drink it on the premises, thereby completely neutralizing the risk of customers returning to the counter to ask for free refills. The ultimate trade-off for saving a few pennies on refills was Mrs. Liebeck suffering severe third-degree burns. And when the jury handed down a punitive damages verdict reaching a staggering $2.86 million, guess who truly has to sweat bullets in the trenches? In these types of scenarios, the McDonald's Corporation always keeps a formidable army of elite lawyers on standby, backed by a 100-page franchise agreement, laced with terrifyingly sophisticated indemnification clauses. To put it bluntly, if any legal trouble erupts on your premises, whether it is a customer slipping and falling, an employee filing a harassment lawsuit, or a food poisoning outbreak traced back to beef from the corporation's own exclusive supplier, your LLC is the absolute first in the line of fire to take the hit. If the corporate headquarters gets dragged into that lawsuit, you are the one heavily mandated to pull from your own pocket to pay their entire legal defense fees. To survive in this legal swamp, you are forced to hand over a massive fortune to insurance companies. A franchisee must shoulder a heavy burden of policies, general liability, workers' compensation, property insurance, and even umbrella policies covering riot risks. These insurance premiums easily devour tens of thousands of dollars from your budget every single year. Yet, even when you are insured to the teeth, a massive, prolonged lawsuit, combined with out-of-court settlement costs, can still violently drain your store's liquid cash flow. To sum it up, this franchise model engineers a flawless barrier. All the glory, clean cash flows, and real estate ownership flow directly back to the corporate headquarters in Chicago. Meanwhile, the litigation risks, the threat of bankruptcy, and the sleepless nights dealing with the legal system are entirely contracted out to restaurant owners like you. You are not buying a business empire. You are spending $2 million to purchase the distinct privilege of acting as a legal meat shield for a multinational corporation. We have peeled back every single layer of the Golden Arches empire, from exorbitant rent bills to invisible debt traps, from drive-thru algorithms designed to drain customer wallets to the sheer brutality of monopolized supply chains. Now, it is time to sit down, punch the final numbers into the calculator, and deliver the ultimate do-or-die verdict. Is this game truly worth the sacrifice? Let's put a real-world equation on the scale, where you confidently throw down $2.5 million, combining borrowed leverage and your life savings, just to buy a seat at the casino table. In the most optimistic scenario, often seen as the ultimate gold rush, you prove yourself to be an elite player. You successfully secure a highly lucrative location, ruthlessly optimize operational processes, and push your gross revenue past the $3.5 million mark annually. If you can maintain a net profit margin of 15%, a figure that is fiercely difficult to achieve, but certainly not impossible, you will take home roughly $525,000 in cold, hard cash every year. In this mathematical equation, it will take you roughly 5 to 6 years to completely recoup your initial capital, assuming the corporation does not force you to tear the store down and rebuild it in the meantime. Once you cross that milestone, the establishment is no longer a crushing debt burden but officially transforms into a genuine money-printing machine, propelling you into the ranks of multimillionaires as you stand tall on the shoulders of a giant. However, life is rarely a dream, and Wall Street never hands out charity. If you unfortunately step into the worst-case scenario, hitting a market blind spot, or getting shoved into an area with paper-thin margins, the story morphs into a suffocating debt trap. Your revenue barely limps along at $2.2 million, while your net profit margin disastrously craters to a mere 8% due to raging inflation, skyrocketing labor costs, and a barrage of relentless equipment maintenance bills. At this point, you only manage to scrape together $176,000 a year. Even more terrifying, your return on investment timeline drags out to an agonizing 14 years. Just imagine, during those 14 grueling years, the real estate market will violently shift, Gen Z consumer habits will entirely evolve, and McDonald's will inevitably drop at least 2 ultimatums on your head demanding comprehensive facility upgrades. The compounding debt shock will drown you. You are no longer a proud, independent business owner. You are essentially just an obedient, long-term debtor to the bank and an indentured servant chained to the corporation's monthly financial statements. To sum it up, owning a McDonald's franchise is not necessarily a legacy-building investment. To put it bluntly, you are dropping millions of dollars simply to buy a high-paying management job that comes packaged with a massive, ticking debt bomb. You are not sweating bullets to build a lasting dynasty for your family. You are breaking your back to inflate the real estate portfolio of the corporate overlords sitting in Chicago. If you genuinely crave financial freedom, ask your conscience. Do you want to be the one hunched over flipping beef patties on someone else's land, or do you want to be the one holding the deed to that dirt? With $2.5 million in cash and a sharp mind, the capitalist world out there offers countless other arenas where cash flow pours directly into your pocket instead of taking a massive detour through a multinational corporation's toll booth. The Golden Arches is indeed a dazzling golden cage. It glitters, it projects extreme prestige, and it leaves outsiders gazing in absolute envy. But only the people locked inside, buckling under hundreds of thousands of dollars in loan interest and the suffocating pressure of 24/7 operations, truly understand that desperate, burning desire to just walk away from the game without losing everything.